All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. Make sure y'all subscribe. Okay, so the other day I did a live stream talking about why I'm discontinuing the GOAT talk, right? And some people still ask me about it. They didn't just watch the full stream, which, was a long stream. So, we don't talk about some different things. So I said, all right, I'm gonna just condense it down, do a short video, short segment of that. And yeah, I just give you my reason why. I mean, first off, one of the reasons that it just popped into my mind was because a lot of people were talking about the GOAT in boxing as of lately and talking about, Tyson Fury being able to beat Muhammad Ali, this and that. And, everybody's going to have their opinion, especially if you're from this generation. You're going to think that your fighters can beat the older fighters and so on. Right. And, the more and more I just thought about that title, I'm like, there's more to it than that, than just saying, OK, this guy can beat that guy, and I think boxing has always had more of a ground to stand on as of recently on GOAT talk, But bringing that over to the world of WMMA, we've been talking about that on my channel. Everybody thinks so-and-so is the GOAT. Nunes is the GOAT. Valentina's the GOAT. Cyborg's the GOAT. And I kind of fell into that, trap as well, fell into that conversation. But I said, I got to kind of kill it because right now, all of these fighters, they're still trying to solidify their legacy. All of these fighters are still trying to find their place. Of course, some of them are ahead of the others. Some been around longer. But, they're still trying to, make their path known and still trying to be recognized. They're still trying to grow in a growing sport. So I said it really is too early to try to stamp any of these fighters as a legend when the sport is only like, 20 years old, if that. Especially for WMMA, as far as it getting recognized, it's just really been getting put on the map, as its own thing, because, you kind of have to separate the two, because men, the casual men fan, they tend to gravitate more towards the men fighting, right? So for the women, they still really are just trying to find their path as well and make their voices heard, and make their statements. So the more I thought about it, I was like, I have to discontinue it for those reasons. It's a premature sport. We still have, a lot of fighters, like I said, trying to write their story, trying to, write their book. And, shoot, some of them are just like a few chapters in when you really think about it. Right. So these fighters are still trying to make their way, Valentina, Nunes, and anything could happen right now. That's another reason. Anything could happen that could just kind of take them off course to make you really kind of question certain things. Right. You never know. Everything's looking good now, but things could change. You never know. So you kind of have to wait that out. And another reason why I said I want to cut it down is because there's not enough to choose from, right? Of course, there's fighters you can put on your Mount Rushmore, your pioneers that have helped really push women in mixed martial arts, right? But there's still not enough to choose from. Like boxing, over centuries old, you can jump around from generation to generation. Say, okay, Jack Johnson is the GOAT, Joe Louis is the GOAT, Archie Moore is the GOAT, Muhammad Ali is the GOAT, all of these different names, Sugar Ray Robinson, all of these different names that you can choose from different eras, because they different things to not just, accomplish things for themselves, but to make more and more people gravitate towards the sport. And, I think that's what it is as a whole when it comes down to being a GOAT, like not just winning, but how you come back from a win, how you come back from a loss. What do you do to, really bring in more fans, as far as, not ducking, taking on the best competition, always answering that call when it's time to defend yours, and just writing, just making that path that everybody's inspired by, you know what I'm saying? Not even just like telling people to do certain things, but making people want to follow you. You know what I mean? Like you see that a lot in boxing. Different people follow different fighters' blueprints now, so those are guys that you can consider legend, because everybody's kind of taken from them. Everybody from my era when James Toney was fighting, he would kind of take from those guys like Ezra Charles, Sugar Ray Robinson, Charlie Burley, and like George Foreman would take from like Archie Moore and so on. Floyd Mayweather would take from James Toney and go all the way back. You know what I mean? So there was something to kind of build off with these fighters. I want to start seeing that happen in this sport first. Like when you see this next generation, the next crop of fighters in WMMA come up, you say, oh, I can see her taking from Valentino. I can see her taking from Chris Cyborg or Nunes or whoever is new that comes in between, right? So, yeah, it's just still a long way off from really judging it that way, because, we still have to see what's going to happen with some of these other fighters that come into play that want to, cement theirs. Hey, Taylor Santos could come in there and do something, make a big statement, right? And then just have, a consistent career of, putting her name in those talks. So, it's more than that now. More and more I think about it, because like even with boxing, there's just so many fighters that contribute to the sport. Of course, for me, since it has been around for a long time, I do still consider Muhammad Ali greatest of all time, because he stamped that. That was his moniker, greatest of all time. And everything he's done for it, it just kind of gives everybody a blueprint in the world of boxing. Like even fighters with different styles, it just kind of gives them it gives them a similar path to say, I can kind of go off of this, it's something inspiring for everybody, so I think that's another part of being a GOAT. It's not just what you do for yourself, but how everybody's inspired off of you, and how everybody goes to that book. They kind of see you as that Bible of boxing, right? Nobody's really like written the Bible of WMMA yet, or the Bible of MMA. Of course, for the men, there's a lot of fighters that people say, okay, this person's the greatest, this person the greatest. But again, like I said, it's still a growing sport where you have to kind of give it time, and I was just, up today looking at an interview here, and this kind of just goes by my point. Like, I'm not really going to go into a debate about who's the best strawweight or the greatest strawweight either. But, DC, I saw this interview just today where he gave his points on why he thinks Rose is not the greatest strawweight as of yet. And I know people going to argue with that, but he makes sense. He still thinks that Joanna is that because she pioneered it. She laid the groundwork, and, she did a lot for the division. So it's not just about the resume, it's about skills, resume, and how you laid the groundwork for the division and made it something popular. You know what I mean? I mean, Rose has brought a lot of people to it as well, but he's still kind of looking at how consistent she is with it. So real quick, this is what he said. Like, see, this is what I've been saying. Like, I did this stream before he did this interview. So this is what he said, though. This sport is young. We tend to get excited. We have seen this time and time again. For as much of a resume as Rose is building as a champion, she's not the greatest. She's a ways off. The greatest champion in this division's history is Joanna. It doesn't just point to the matchups because of all of the defenses. The way that she truly put that weight class on the map is why we view her in that way that we do. So he's speaking for him and I guess other Joanna fans, but I can understand that. Like, that's what I'm saying with like boxing, it's not just about the resume. It's about putting the division on the map, putting the heavyweight division on the map for like boxing, putting the sport of boxing on the map, and really bringing in a lot of people to it, because of your presence, because of your character, because of your wins, because of your courage, and all of that, right? So there's so much more to it. Like, that's what makes a legend or a greatest of all time. It's like I said, it's just like a living legend or a living storybook, right? That makes people gravitate towards it. But he also said this: if she wins, does Rose step closer to being considered in the conversation as the greatest strawweight we ever seen? Absolutely. I believe this fight does more for Rose personally than her legacy, because you go back and get that one back. You go and get that one back. So yeah, that's another good point. Like he's saying, like, she just needs to rack up some more of these wins to really jump over Joanna and just kind of jump over the groundwork that Joanna laid by, of course, having those 2 wins over Joanna, but also just holding on to the belt and even kind of going back and getting some get back over Carla Esparza, and kind of rewriting that history. So it's a lot that comes with that talk. That's why I say I just got to discontinue that over here, because everybody's going to have their opinion on who a fighter is. That's why I just really want to focus. Of course, I'll focus on fighters I'm fans of, but I really just want to focus on the fight and who's really doing good for the fight. Now, if you want to talk all-time greats, I'm cool with that. If you want to talk Mount Rushmore fighters, I can do it as a as a collection. You know what I mean? I can do that as a collection. Like, I have my favorite fighters in boxing. Of course, there's my standout Ali, but there's other guys like Lennox Lewis and so on. But like, even with WMMA, there's my fighters that stand out that I enjoy, but I'm not just going to go all out and say, okay, this person's the greatest of all time, when this division is still in its baby years, it's still in its baby years, compared to like what you've seen, like even in the world of boxing. But yeah, man, I just wanted to come through and just explain that to y'all, why I am discontinuing that. Because like I said, I had some people ask me again, why are you not talking about the GOAT? You have to, because, oh, this person is a legend, they do this, they do that. Well, if they keep it up And, you know, if I'm still doing this channel like another 10, 20 years, after that, we'll start talking about that a little bit more. You know, we'll start saying, okay, this person is that person because their groundwork, their accomplishments is like no other. You know, even like if it goes into 2030, you know, we say nobody's ever had that skill to do what nobody's ever came along to do it like Chris Cyborg did. And then we can start saying, okay, she was that legend. You know, Valentina, she's that legend now because they wrote their book. And now everybody kind of goes to that book and takes pages from it. And that's another thing I just wanted to say. That's to me what a greatest of all time is, or like a legend is. Somebody that, you know, you can always kind of go back and take pages from their book. They wrote a story that, you know, everybody wants to read. Again, like I said, don't even have to have the same style. Don't even really have to have a whole love of the sport or understanding of the sport, but they have that one book that everybody can gravitate towards, right? So yeah, GOAT Talk still discontinued. Yeah, just letting y'all know that didn't watch that video. But what do y'all think about what DC said as well? You know, as far as who the greatest strawweight is. I mean, give your opinion on that. But yeah, it's how I feel too. You know, it's just like you can't really have that discussion about greatest strawweight, even with Joanna being like greatest of all time. We don't know yet because she still hasn't bounced back yet and fully recaptured that to say, let me put this put another thrilling chapter in my book, right? I mean, she will go down as like one of the best, but in a division that's still growing and thriving, and a lot of these new heads around here right now, there's still a lot to be said, right? So yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. Combo Breaker 99, I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.